maybe they're not even saying that. They're just sort of, you feel like those are the words, but their face is sort of like, I don't really believe you. Have y'all ever been in that spot? Maybe you're married to somebody who has done that to you, where you're saying this is what's happened, and the other like, yeah, whatever, kind of. And then when after that moment has happened, and it might, like I said, again, they didn't say prove yourself to them. You just having to go through, and then maybe somewhere down the line, maybe a day or two, a week, maybe a month later, whatever it was proves itself to be right. And in that moment, you want to run back to that person and go, see, what I was telling you was right all along, right? In those moments, those kind of things happen. Well, I think sometimes we get in a spot, and maybe you have been in these type of conversations with people before, and you start talking about the Bible. Now, we live in an area where a lot of people believe the Bible, and you probably believe the Bible as such, as truth, and you accept it as truth. But there's a lot of people in this world who don't just accept it as truth. A lot of people come back and maybe push back against why you just wholeheartedly believe and accept a book that is as old as it is, with writings as old as it is. There's a lot of evidence, though, that really support the writings of the Scripture and tell a story of the writings of the Scripture. I don't know, as I was kind of getting ready for this, and actually this was not the direction I thought I was going to go tonight, but just as I was looking through this a few days ago, but something came up, and I ended up chasing. I don't know if y'all have ever done that before, where you start clicking to another click, and this makes this question, and I ended up looking at the Dead Sea Scrolls, which I don't know if you've ever tried to look and understand a little bit about the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's a set of documents ultimately that was found in this cave there in Israel that support or show how far back a lot of the scriptures. They have some whole copies of some of the prophets and the other scriptures that were there to kind of support that somebody didn't make this up 400 years ago, that it goes back in time. Well, as I started looking further into this, there's a lot of things. I think the Dead Sea Scrolls points to like 15,000 different documents that you can point to show some evidence of writings that we would consider holy as part of the scriptures. As I was digging in through that and going through, I found several places where there are archaeological digs. And one of them is in what was formerly known as Babylon. There is a thing called Cyrus Cylinder. Has any of you ever heard of Cyrus Cylinder before? Look it up. It's interesting. It kind of honestly looks like a ear of corn in the way that it's round and has these little indentions on it, little pictures and things like that. It looks like little carvings. But on Cyrus's cylinder is the story of King Cyrus. Now, you should recognize that name when you remember the story of Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel chapter 4 and 5, and then you get into this new king that takes over. Well, this new king that took over, you got King Darius and then Cyrus, and as they take over, this Persian king decides to let the exiles that Babylon had collected leave, and it's written on this cylinder. It tells the story of not just the Jews that were released, but all the exiles that this new king, Cyrus, is letting go home. Now, like I said, the Jews are on there. They got to go home. And the story and the timing matches up with the book of Ezra. What? You're kidding me. I hope you go home and look it up. Cyrus Cylinder, look it up. Because what it does is one of those moments where I can tell you the story of Ezra, and I can tell you those things that happened in Babylon and the release, and you can go, well, sure, I trust you. You're the minister here. You're the preacher. I'm going to trust what you have to say. But if there was ever a question, here is another element of evidence that says it's not made up. It is real. It's history that took place. And once again, I stand in awe of God, of how he put it together, of how his word holds true, and how I can live through it for him. And I hope that encourages your faith walk as well. We have just a few announcements tonight that I want to share with you and make you aware of, and then we will dismiss the class in just a second. Hey, okay. Megan, Jenna. You're Jenna. I didn't know that Jenna's dad I didn't realize that. Okay. I just missed it. I'm sorry. My bad. I didn't read the announcements, and I guess I was talking when they were given out. So everything is good? Good. Megan Thornton's dad had stents put in too. He's was able to go home this afternoon, and they're very thankful that all of those procedures went well for sure for them too. Mary June Good went back to the doctor on Monday. She'll return in 3 weeks, and we want to continue to remember her. Johnny Smallwood fell this weekend. He is dealing with several issues. Part of it is dealing with his heart and lungs, and part of it is with the shoulder. And so remember him in your prayers. Miss Greta Hughes is recovering from her broken hip. Tom Childers, some of you remember, former minister here, has been put on hospice. We'll remember them. And also, as Brooks mentioned a few moments ago, we have several who are at home sick with different viruses and things like that. I know Monica and Judy and Landon are home dealing with that, and others are as well. So I want to remember all of those in our prayers. On Monday, December 1st, the ladies' gift exchange will be here from 6 to 8 in the back. If you have any questions, see Meredith Key. Wednesday, the 3rd of December, elders, deacons, and ministers meetings will be following our Wednesday night Bible study. On Thursday, the 4th, is the Senior Saints Night at 6 o'clock in the fellowship room. Derek, if you'll see me after this. And also on Saturday, December 6th, is Art Day. If you'd like to be a part of that, you can put it in the little blue box in the back foyer. We check that pretty much every week, I think, make sure that it's handled. But if you can also see me or one of the other elders and get it to them as well. We'll meet up here at the building at 10 o'clock, and we will go around town, handle that. And ladies' Bible class on the 26th has been canceled. They'll be posted later. Also on December 6th, it sort of coincides with Art Day, but it's a little different approach, I guess, what we're doing. We're going to have a Parents' Day Out on December the 6th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. for children of the Alamo Church of Christ. Sign-up sheet is in the foyer. If you'd like to volunteer to help supervise those children for just a little bit, please let me know. And we need to have a name of those who are coming so that we can make sure we have enough folks to help us through that. Final thing, and then we'll go to class. Next Thursday is Thanksgiving. Next Wednesday, we will meet here at 6:30 for our Thanksgiving. We'll have a little, service program, whatever, that we'll be dealing with or going through on that Wednesday night, 6:30 next Wednesday. Did I forget anything? All right. At this point, you are dismissed to your classes.
I don't know if you remember that story. Two chick. All right. It's Tanner volunteering. $11 Saturday to Sunday at 3. Keep the kids. I got you. Well, good evening and welcome out to a midweek Bible study that we'll have some time together. As Bobby said, next week we'll be having our Thanksgiving devotional themed, and hope you'll be back for that. And then the following week will be December, which then Bobby, Andrew, I don't know who, one of those guys will be taking over and rolling through our classes. Enjoyed our time over the last 8 weeks or so. With you a couple of months and talking about the Ten Commandments. Didn't get through them all, but in the study getting ready for tonight, the last 3 commandments are really very, very, could be tied together very easy. Don't steal, don't lie, don't covet. God says it way better in the commands, thou shalt not. But in West Tennessee, we're going to say don't steal, don't lie, and don't covet. And all of those come together in a way that really, as we wrap up tonight, and as at the very end of the lesson tonight, we'll get back to of how it comes from the heart. I mean, it all comes from the heart, where it originates. Coveting and stealing definitely are tied in together. There was a lady by the name of Henrietta Garrett, Garrett. Anybody in here know if you're kin to her? Henrietta Garrett. November the 16th, 1930, she passed away at 81 years old, 25 years after her husband had passed away in Philadelphia. She left behind, in 1930, she left behind a $17 million estate. Guess what Henrietta forgot to do? Make a will. No beneficiary. Anybody here kin to Henrietta Garrett? Yeah, there you go. There you go. Guess what, Bubba? You would have joined over 26,000 people. Who Henrietta, as part of the Henrietta, you go. That's right. Hey, I can tie you to it, man. I can tie you to it. Over 26,000 people claimed. They found out she did have one known living relative. Of course, no kids that they had, her and her husband had. One known living relative that was a second cousin. But over 26,000 people claimed to be kin to her from 47 states, 29 different countries, and over 3,000 lawyers got involved to try to prove that these people were, so that they could get their cut too. Some people faked their name. Some people went as far as to change their name. Some even went into Bibles that had their genealogy in it from their families and altered the genealogy in the family Bible to try to prove that they were kin to Henrietta Garrett. I did, Garrett, yeah. We dropped the R and the T on one of those, one R, one T, but we did name Garrett after that. So if there's still any of that money around, I'll see if we can't prove that. Do what? 3,000 lawyers, yeah, there ain't much left after that, is it? But the covetousness and the lying in order to steal what's not yours literally is all wrapped up in that one story. And it comes from just an evil place, a heart that's evil, that's there. There's a cartoon that's been shared a bunch of times of a pasture where barbed wire fence around 2 different pastures. Same size, both have the same amount of food in it. It seems like grass. It's just as green and just as healthy. 2 mules, one in each pasture. Guess where their heads were? In the other pasture. Maybe you've seen it. This mule had his head in that pasture eating, and this mule had through the barbed wire fence. Because what I have right in front of me wasn't good enough. And that's exactly what do not steal, do not covet, do not lie boils down to, is we're not content with what we have. Questions before we get too far into this, or comments? Is this a problem for rich people or a problem for poor people? Yeah, it is. It's for both. What do we a lot of times draw our attention to when we talk about it, though? Covetousness and stealing. And what would we tend to gravitate to? It's a problem of what? Those are poor, greed. Yeah, now greed's going to be probably on the other side. But we think about theft from the poor, or coveting because I'm poor, I don't have what you have, I want. When in reality, it's all of ours if we don't guard the heart, if we're not careful at guarding the heart. We were traveling, several years ago. We were in Georgia on a summer break with the Laymans and Bobby, and we were all traveling. We stopped at a hotel to spend the night halfway, heading over to the East Coast. I think it's right. We're heading to the East Coast for vacation. And got up the next morning, and you have your overnight bags with you that, because you're going on vacation, you don't take everything in. So we went back out the next morning to a car door that was open, and your stuff ran through and all over the place and gone. And, the kids, whatever they had at that time, little toys that we were keeping them occupied with while we're traveling, gone. The DVDs, because you had to have DVDs to put in the DVD player because it's a 12-hour drive, gone. Computer from school, wasn't even ours, gone. Anybody else ever been there? That's not a fun feeling that somebody's been in your stuff and through your stuff. It's just not a fun feeling that it's there. And yet, for whatever reason, somebody thought that it would be a good idea to go in and get my stuff or our stuff. And it's just a sick feeling that somebody's been in my things, because that's my things. And it comes from the heart. Think about this. Adam and Eve, very first thing they did against God was what? What did they do? Ate of the tree, knowledge of good and evil, right? Okay? So that's what they did. You ever thought about that as stealing? God gave them everything in the garden. This is mine. Don't touch it. And from the get-go, theft began. Remember, the Israelites came out and into the promised land. What was the first sin recorded? Anybody remember? Who took the riches of Canaan? Achan. Yeah. So human nature is just the greed that's there. I was asking Mama a while ago as I came up, because as I was thinking about this, I thought, it's easy to talk about theft and don't do that and all that, and you start thinking, have I ever done anything like that before? And yeah, I'm going to go way on back so you don't think really bad of me. I'm going to go way on back. There was a store, and I asked Mama, I don't know if it was a chain or, did y'all have a TWL up here? Anybody know that chain? Bobby, you remember TWL? Okay. Mama said it was very like a mini Dollar General or whatever. Like had a lot of little things, but really none of it was worth much, kind of thing. And so in TWL, you would have think I would have wanted to get a superhero, but I didn't steal a superhero. There was a little Smurf trinket that they had by the counter. I'll remember it to this day, and you'll know why I remember it this day. But I wanted it, and Mama, no, I couldn't have it for what? Probably because I wasn't being very nice or good, and you only got stuff if you were nice or good. So I didn't get it. It was one of those right beside those Pez candies, those things where you put the Pez in and pop the head up the cartoon. It was one of those little trinkets that was there. Worth nothing. Literally worth nothing. Well, that night, or maybe the next day, I can't remember, Mom was washing clothes. And she found in the washing machine a little Smurf trinket that belonged to TWL, not Brooks, because he was told he couldn't get it. And so we took that Smurf and the other stuff that happened, before we got back to TWL, but I had to walk back in and give it back to them and apologize and face the consequences of Robert Rawson and Jane Rawson. Robert probably more than Jane, but just a bad feeling. But it wasn't worth anything, so what was the big deal? It wasn't mine. How many times, though, or if we're not careful, as good Christian adults sitting in this room on a Wednesday night and all the stuff we have going on in our life, how guilty can we be sometimes of going, it's not that big of a deal? Now, we're talking about trinkets, but we're going to get down in a minute to other places we steal from if we're not real careful. Say it again. Napkins? Stealing napkins? Yeah. Mike? Yeah. There must be a story behind that. I don't know that I've been tempted to steal napkins. Now, I have grabbed a handful to go to sit down, and I don't know that I thought of it as stealing. It was just in case I needed it. But yeah, there are a lot of things that are very little value, but if I'm not careful, I'll take it without it being mine. Stealing things is because of a selfish and a dishonest heart. So why do people steal? Why do they? Absolutely. Yes. Yes, no doubt. And we'll intertwine that, and you're exactly right. It's all through this. Catherine said, people online for sure want them to hear, but of those three things, it's not so much the taking of, but that a lack of trust and faith in God, that what He's given me is what He wants me to have. And I've taken it on myself to go and get more. Is that fair enough summary? What was there? And no doubt, that's exactly what it is. Any other comments? And the committing of adultery as well. Yep. And if you want to, yeah, committing adultery as well. Yeah, I won't go back. Yeah, I was going to go back to honor father and mother, all the ones that have to do with your dealing with others, but for sure that, yeah, taking something that's not mine can all be tied into that as well. Here's why people listed that they steal, or in looking on the internet, whatever. Drug habits that need to be supported that I can't afford. A sickness that I have that I can't keep from it. The excitement of the moment of getting away with something. That's the top three reasons that people list that they would steal, take from, and covet. I think it's because we've lost perspective into what God wants us to have and how we should live. Obviously, we get to own things. I was talking to Bobby really quick. We get to own things. Otherwise, you couldn't steal from me if I didn't own it. So people are going to get to own things. They're going to be yours. You're going to get to have it. But do you get to have it to an excess? To the point of other people's detriment. Think about, too, the loss of perspective with the price of items we have now. Vehicles that we drive, vehicles, clothes that we wear, houses that we have. What's enough? Is it ever really enough? Has God blessed me enough? Now, we say it, but has God blessed me enough, or do I deserve more? Or I need more? And so therefore, I go out and find a way to get it. I think one of the quick ways, without going too deep into this, but is Leviticus chapter 25 talks about the year of Jubilee. You ever heard of the year of Jubilee? Year of Jubilee. So what in the year of Jubilee was the 50th year. Every 50 years, there was a reset button in the Old Testament. So for 7 times 7, 7 years, 7 different times, things were swapped, things were sold, things were taken care of, slaves were bought, slaves were released, slaves were traded, all kinds of things. Debt happened. The year of Jubilee, the 50th year, the land got to rest and the people got to rest. Debts were forgiven, and it all reverted back to 50 years ago. Whoever was the owner in that family took back over. Now, in a capitalism world, we go, what? No, that's not right. I earned that. I did that. Without going very, very deep into that, I can very easily take from that God said, don't get too greedy. Don't store for yourself over and over and over and over. In the year of Jubilee, we're going to forgive it. Now, there's lots more analogies in the New Testament of Jesus and the forgiveness that we have and the releasing of debt and all of those type things. But I also think we can pull from that God knew from the beginning we could be very selfish and greedy and keep for ourselves and not allow others to benefit from that. And we steal because we want to own things. Here's the bad part, is when the things begin to own you. It's okay to own things, but be careful when things own you. Have you had anything own you? O-W-N? Not own, but own. Did I say that? On? I don't know. They all sound the same, English language. Yeah. You got to be careful. Somebody turn to Matthew chapter 16, verse 26. Matthew 16, verse 26. If we're not careful, things will begin to own us. What does it say there? Somebody read that loud. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world, to get possession after possession after possession and lose his soul? If we're not careful with greed and wanting more and more and more to the point of stealing, we get ourselves in trouble. Luke chapter 12, verse 15 talks about greed and having an abundance of good. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 7 and 8 basically says, I brought nothing in this world. I ain't going to take anything out with me. We can pack the casket full, but it's going to stay right here. Lots of ideas and thoughts into how we need to be careful and mindful of letting things on us. Yes, sir. Proverbs 30, I'm not going there. Just be content.
Okay, and he says, for remove those things far from me, lest I be full and deny and say, who are you, Lord? So if you give me
Too much.
I lose you, God. Or if I'm poor and then I steal and then profane the name of God.
Yeah. So Proverbs chapter 30 in the was it a prayer?
It's the words of Agur.
Yeah. Not Solomon, but another writer in the Proverbs, begging God of two things: don't make me poor, or too poor, too, and don't lie. Yeah. If I get too rich, I'll forget about you. And if I'm too poor, I'll steal and defame your name against you. No doubt. What about 1 Kings 21? Remember the story of King Ahab? Remember that? There was a vineyard right beside his place. It was owned by Naboth. And the king wanted that. Remember? He wanted that piece of property, that land. Naboth said, no, basically God's told me you can't have it. That belongs to me and my family. So if you want to read about people in the Bible pouting, he went and pouted. He went and laid down in bed with his face down, pouting, because he couldn't have that piece of land. And we're talking about the king that had everything. Anything he wanted, but he wanted that piece of land too. And so his wife pens a letter to the people and says, put him in charge of the people, put people that don't matter in front of him and let them accuse him of doing something, of talking against God, blasphemy against God. To which they do, and then the punishment for that was death. So now Naboth is killed. And the wife runs in and says, you can have it, he's dead. And Elijah is sent to talk to him about that and how it is. And then King Ahab ends up repenting from what had been done. But the point of greed that got you to the point of stealing in those ways. There's two ways we can steal. Run out of time. Not careful. I'll run through this like a spider monkey real quick, running through some things. So, two things you can do. You can rob others, which we've talked a lot about, and if you're not careful, you can rob God. Okay? Rob others and rob God. We rob others. We have debts that are out there. Not paying your debt. You borrowed, it's honest, it's there, it's yours. You got to pay it back. Take care of your debts. We rob other people by swindling them. Some of us call that good business. He has said here that that's good business. We leave off details. We take advantage of those that really don't know what they're looking at. Not being very honest. And because of that, we end up stealing from them. And then we steal from people's well-being. And we use the story of the rich man and Lazarus, Luke chapter 16. Lots of things talking about that, but one of it was that the rich man passed by Lazarus daily as he was begging for just a little crumb. Not even anything that would hurt the rich man, that he would even miss. And yet he walked right on by. And we rob others of their well-being. We justify it by what I was saying earlier, no harm, no foul. They won't miss it. They've got plenty. And then we rob God. We rob God. As Catherine said a while ago, because we want to accumulate things, and we rob God of Him being in first place in our lives. We rob God of His credibility if we're not careful. Jeremiah 7, verse 9 and 11. If you're taking notes, want to go back and read or online. Jeremiah 7, verse 9 and 11. It basically says you talk a good game and then you come in the house of the Lord and say, I'm of you. And God said, whoa, you use my name, but you act in this way. You've robbed me of my credibility. So it's not just in stealing things. We rob God of honor by giving less. You know, we have the argument, I've heard it, might have used it before. Tithing was of the Old Testament. In the New Testament, it says give from a cheerful heart. Tithing was definitely a 10%. The Jews had the checklist. 10% of everything, of this paycheck, I got a truck given to me, 10% of it goes to God. I got well, not a truck for them, but a horse or something, I don't know, a mule. God gets this much, God, and they wanted to check mark and make sure. And God said, hold on, I want you to give from the heart. And so if we're not careful, we rob from God by going, tithing the 10% is no longer there, give from the heart, and we go back and give less. And we rob from God if we're not careful. When you give under the law, you give as little as possible, don't you? Coming up in April, you give of the law, you put everything down you can put down. Me too. Because I'm not a cheerful giver to the government. That's not what I want to do. I'm going to give as least as possible. But in about 6 weeks, we're going to open up presents. I've already been shopping. I've already got some presents in. I hadn't once checked to see if that was too much. Because I'm okay with it. Why? Because I'm giving out of love. I'm not giving off because of the law. I'm giving because I want to. If we're not careful, we'll rob God in our giving by going, well, tithing was 10%. He changed it to give from a cheerful heart. Therefore, I don't have to give 10%. Guilty. If we're not careful, we'll rob God and steal from Him when He says don't steal. So the 3 ways, I'm trying to wrap it up really, really quick. 3 ways to not rob others or God. Have a thankful spirit. Matthew Henry was robbed one time, and here was his 3 things he wrote in his journal about the day he was robbed. This was the first time I've ever been robbed. I'm thankful for that. They only took my wallet and not my life. I'm thankful for that. They robbed me. I was not the one doing the robbing, and I'm thankful for that. If you want to be careful about robbing, Boom, will you hit that buzzer for me one time? Thank you. If you want to be careful, then we need to have a thankful spirit. And then we need to share our blessings with others instead of wanting more. That'll help us to overcome covetousness, lying, stealing. It's sharing our blessing with others. And then the last one, which Catherine jumped way ahead, if we want to get there, is just trust God. Trust God. Now let's go back 8 weeks. When we very first started talking about the 10 Commandments. What was the very first one? Put God first. And really, we got down to it where He said, not in order of rank, but as the only one. If you want to not worry about the coveting, stealing, lying, and all that, it comes from the heart. And it all goes back to rule number 1. You've seen those before? Rule number 1, don't ask daddy such and such. Rule number 2, blah, blah. Rule number 3, refer back to rule number 1. You've seen those before? You know, that takes care of it all. If we just refer back to rule number 1, it takes care of every bit of it. Put God first. Put God as the only one that's there. Luke chapter 6, verse 45 talks about the heart. A good person's heart will bring forth good and bear good. Evil person's heart will bring forth evil and bear evil. It's all about what's in the heart for the commands. Tonight we've done several things I've actually gone over, but it's been really quiet, so that's really good. So thank you all for helping me with the study and helping us with the study of that. Looking forward to a Thanksgiving time next week. Don't eat too much dressing and turkey and all over the next few weeks, or pickles or anything like that. Make sure you control everything you're supposed to control with yourself. Don't covet anybody else's plate or anything like that. Thank you for your comments over the last several weeks and for the study, and I look forward to being with you guys again. Somebody hit that buzzer twice.